off-field ambitions for his recruits. The five-star pledge saw them do community work. In return, the players were part of a program to prepare themselves for life after sport. Flankers Tim Davidson and Jarrod Saffy and lock Alistair Campbell are just a few of the men taking advantage of the unique opportunities on offer. I spoke to them at training.
First and foremost, I'm studying commerce at uni. Been doing that for the last couple of years part-time, so knocking over as many subjects as I can. On my days off at the moment, I've been working at Leyland Private Asset Management, which is a boutique broking firm in the city, so offering financial services, basically wealth management.
It was a huge draw card for me to come to Melbourne and not only be a part of the rugby program, but to have the opportunity to source some work experience and fulfil some interests outside of rugby. So I studied property economics at UTS in Sydney, and it's an industry that ultimately I'd like to end up in.
I come from Young, and my parents run a grain property, predominantly wheat and canola, and so I guess coming to this stage in my career, I've sort of decided to think about what's next, and unfortunately the club has been very good in helping us out with that pursuit, and I've been working for a grain trading company called Emerald, and mainly who trade grain and commodities, and I've just been helping out there one day a week, which has given me a great insight into that industry, and hopefully I can take some of those skills back home.
To have a position with a small project construction management group down here who are working on a major retail development in the city with Colonial. So I've been able to spend a day and a half a week exposing myself to something outside of rugby.
Fortunately I've been at uni for the last 7 or 8 years, I think now, so I was fortunate enough to study commerce there postgraduate, and I completed that last year, so I've sort of tried to use those skills that I've got out of that degree and go into that sort of side of the industry and try and combine the two as part of my background, and also using the skills from the commerce.
And why is all this important to you?
Well, it's important to get a balance, I think it's important to get life after football. You need to plan for your future, and we get put in a situation where your career can end pretty quickly. So you never know when you're going to have to enter the workforce. So being able to get out in the workforce now and use some of the concepts that we have and get some experience in something outside of football is really beneficial.
And I've always believed throughout my career that it's really important to have a good balance, whether it's study or some other form of interest, and I firmly believe that that balance makes me a better rugby player. So it's great to be involved.
Yeah, it's the first organisation that I've been a part of that's taken that interest in our lives outside of rugby, and I think it's so important to have that balance. And I think a lot of other sports can seriously take note. I think you also, when you get to the stage in your career where you've got to think about what's next, it makes that transition into life outside of rugby that much easier. So, from my point of view, I've been very fortunate to be in this position to be able to have those decisions made for me.
Is this something you've seen as an emphasis at the Rebels that maybe is not present, say, in the NRL?
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a big initiative from Rod McQueen. Rod's obviously got an excellent brain when it comes to off-the-field stuff with business, and and sees the importance of that.
And that's what I wanted to do in throughout this 2-year contract that I've got with the Rebels. So it's great to be a part of a proper working environment on a large retail development, and seeing how the various stakeholders participate. So I know where I've got to get to for post-rugby, and it's probably one of the downsides of professional sport, that you are left behind professionally when you do make that transition back into the workforce.
I guess it's the first one where when we came here that it was already in place, and I think with the way business is done in Melbourne, I think they've come along with the ride as well and shown great interest. And I actually got approached from one of the board members who knew about my background and actually approached me firsthand because he knew about this role. So when that's sort of happening and they're putting things in front of you, it makes the step, I guess, a lot easier rather than players actually pursuing it on their own foot.
Huge draw card, but I think it's inviting. The word spreading. Guys are aware of it at the other franchises, and I think from a recruitment point of view, that's going to be very positive for the Rebels moving forward into the future. Not only are parents concerned about their children or their sons in professional rugby and what they're going to do if they have a career-ending injury or they're out of form and not selected.
What are your ambitions with your work?
Well, essentially to have my own portfolio, to look after my clients and to build up my portfolio, so by the time I finish playing football, I can look after my clients really well and build up their wealth for them and keep them happy.
Ultimately, I'd love to end up in some development management role. Exposing a brand and a business, I love the sales side of things, selling a service, selling a product. So that's ultimately where I'd like to end up.
How far do you want to go in your chosen field?
Well, I guess I've got the farm to think about first and foremost, but also I guess I don't want to give up this opportunity that I've worked pretty hard to get now. So I know definitely in my heart I'll never sell the farm, so I think it'll always be there, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that it's still in our possession. But I think given that I've been given this opportunity, I'll pursue it as far as I can and see how I can go in that industry, because I guess you sort of don't want to look back in a few years' time and go what if, and the people I work with are fantastic and they've been very supportive, so I want to repay a bit of that faith to them and give it a good nudge and see where I can take it.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? Now let's move on.